Hello everybody, welcome back to It's Pero. I'm so glad you guys have tuned in today because today's session is very important. I am going to be giving you guys a rundown on how I planned my trip to Bad Souffle in Germany and then to Paris, France. You better get your notepad and be ready to take these notes because they are important. I feel that they are, and they could help you because if I didn't get the assistance that I needed, I would have been stuck. Okay, and if you see me looking down, I do have my notes here because I am going to touch on a number of things. If you haven't watched those videos, guys, what have you been up to? I think you should just stop right here, catch up, and then come join us later. But without any further ado, let's get right into the video because I don't want it to be a long one. No long videos. But anyways, yeah, let's get into it. Planning this trip was very challenging because we were going to a different country, different continent. You don't know the prices of things, what they charge there, you have no idea. So it was really difficult to say that we have a set budget of an X amount of cash and this is what we're going to work with. We started off with the reverse. Okay, we had to get pricing, especially for the expensive things first, like the flights and accommodation. That was going to be our most expensive expense, and then from there we worked everything else into it, and that is how we came up with the budget. So number one, it is the flight ticket, right? Listen, I had only been on a plane like once or twice before, and that was when I was very little, maybe 5 or 6 years old. I remember it vaguely, but I don't quite, yeah, I was really young, and this was going to be the second time I was going on this plane as a grown person. Very scary because some of us are afraid of heights, and it was just difficult to work out the flight ticket plans because we were going to depart from Windhoek, but we were going to leave from Windhoek to Germany, but we were going to come back from France to back to Namibia. So there were terms that I was not familiar with, like layovers at the airport. In our case, we didn't need a return ticket, we had to get a round ticket. It was just really stressful. So I spoke to one of my friends who actually had planned, no, she didn't plan. My friend, she was moving, she was getting married and she was moving overseas. So she told me, look, go with Rennie's Travel. I asked them to assist me with flight tickets for my son and I because it's just easier that way and it's more convenient for you. So if you do have a little change to spare, then you can outsource this to somebody else and they can handle that for you. So I sent Rennie's an email and I basically just told them my travel plans, the day that we're leaving, the time that I had preferred to leave, and the day we'll be coming back and from where we will be coming back from. So with that information, the lady was able to now provide a quotation. She provided 3 quotes for us and we chose, she provided 3 quotes for us, Air Namibia being the most expensive. However, they had a direct flight, so we would have left straight from Namibia to Germany. And then there was just quickly hold on, there was here we go. So the first quotation that they sent me, it had 3 options. Okay, option 1 was South African Airways, and since we were 2, the total was going to be 21,818. Option number 2 was, I haven't even heard of this airline before, Etihad Airways, and they were charging us 24,156. And then the third option was Air Namibia with 34,256 for 2 people. So of course, it's obvious I went with the cheapest option. Although we had a layover period of about 7 hours in South Africa, that was fine. We spent those 7 hours at Mac and Bean, eating, drinking away, getting into the mood of things. And when the time came, we departed at 7 in the evening, and we had a comfortable, safe flight all the way to Bassa Souffle, and we arrived at 5:30 in the morning, and it was right on time. So that part was great. They had also offered us a travel insurance option in the quotation. Not travel insurance, sorry. They offered us a Schengen visa option, which was that they would facilitate the whole process of us getting our Schengen visa. And when I looked at the amount that they were charging, it was 2,168. That option went out the window. It didn't make sense to me that all they were going to do is check whether we had all our documentation which we needed for the visa application. Guys, that's a lot of money. And my video, I am going to do a video on how to go about preparing and making sure that you have all your documents for the Schengen visa, because it is very easy and many people were sent back while we were there, and I just don't understand why. And when it was offering to facilitate that process, but I told them take it off the quote, I'm not paying that amount. So yeah, that was flight tickets, which was our biggest expense, so we included that into the budget. And then next we have accommodation. And I suggest that if you do not have a friend where you're going to stay at, you do not quite know where to start looking for your accommodation, excuse me, I suggest you get an account on Airbnb and bookings.com. Those are basically hubs where service providers meet their clients, and it's really easy. You get to search for the place where you are going to, and you can enter your price range depending on what you feel you are able to afford. And in this case, doing this, you're going to a foreign place, you don't really have an idea of how much things are going to cost, so you have to browse through, search and see, and from there you'll be able to come to your conclusion. So first of all, with Airbnb, once you find what you are looking for, you are required to make a payment there and then online, and afterwards you'll be given your receipt, you'll be given a reference number, and your host will then contact you. On bookings.com it's a bit different because you are able to book and then you can pay once you get there. So that's a bit better for you, especially if you don't have the cash right there and then, but you know it's going to come later. So the Germany accommodation, the bride actually organized that accommodation for us with her family, so that was better. We didn't really have to stress about that, and I am going to touch on that in my next video regarding the Schengen visa application, because yeah, you do need to be invited by a host if you are going there for an event such as a wedding, so they took care of that part. And then in Paris, it was so difficult finding a place there because, like I said, it's foreign. You don't know where the good areas are, you don't know where the bad areas are. And I had actually booked a place on the outskirts of Paris, which that time I didn't know. The price looked okay for me, and we once met up with this friend who is from Paris, and I showed him where we were staying, and he was just like, girl, you are staying far from town. Where I had actually booked was like driving through the suburbs here, you know, it didn't have the Paris feel, it didn't have the architecture. He was like, if you want to experience Paris, you have to stay in the heart of Paris. So he ended up linking me with his friend who actually owns an Airbnb, and that is where we stayed. We were there for 3 nights, and we paid €100 per night, so that was like around 1.5 Namibian dollars. Now it does sound expensive, but guys, it's way cheaper than what you would pay for accommodation here if you are going to stay at a lodge or whatever, because here they charge you per person, but there they charge you for the whole place. So, and as comparing, like whenever I want to plan trips around here, it's like 1,100 per person 1.2 per person. So for 2 people it's like 2,200 per night, but we only paid 1.5 for 1 night stay in Paris. Oh yes, and we ended up paying an additional 50 euro because we left the Thursday. Checkout time is at 10 o'clock, but our flight was only later on during the day, so really to get up at 10 and have nowhere to go or get ready and then you sit at the airport for hours, that's not cool. So she gave us an option of paying an additional 50 euro and then we can occupy the space until we are ready to leave, which was so good for us. So we chose that option. And yeah. Oh, and keep all your receipts there, because I had made an error by not getting some proper confirmation of the Paris accommodation, and once again I'm going to touch on it in my next video, so you better stay tuned. So accommodation, flight ticket, they were our most expensive expense for the trip, let me say. So with that out of the way, I was now able to plan our activities that we were going to do. When it came down to activities, you first of all need to know the type of person that you are and the type of people or type of person that your partner is, whoever you are going with, so that you can plan your trip accordingly. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to experience the culture, the food, its people. So when I was looking for activities, I was looking for fun things to do. I was looking for experiencing their clubs, their nightlife, and also learning a bit about their history. So we arrived there on Monday. We arrived there on Monday morning at around 7 a.m. or something like that. We got to our Airbnb and we slept the whole day. I had booked a pub crawl for that evening because I wanted to start off with a bang. Okay, I wanted to have fun, I wanted to be out there, I wanted to be ratchet, I wanted to be in the streets with the people, drinking, having fun, just getting to know the nightlife. So I booked us a pub crawl. It was for 2 people, right? And it was a 5-hour experience from 8:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. So we had to get to the venue. We met at this one club, the whole team, everybody met there. There were a lot of interesting people from all over the world. We had this couple from America, we had this guy from Greece, we had this other girl from Belgium. It was a whole group, and we met at that one club and we visited 4 different clubs, and of course we walked wherever we went, so we had to wear comfortable shoes. It was a really fun experience. And yeah, I found that on Airbnb, this activity. It was $327 per person, so I made a payment online and we secured our spot. And one thing you must look out for is that there are many people who offer the same type of service, so you really need to just look for what is suitable for you. How I chose this specific option, it was because it was the cheapest. It was the cheapest option that was there, but they were offering more, so I took it. I took my gamble and it worked out perfectly. Alright, so then day 2, I booked a bicycle ride for us. Why I chose this is because, you know, you get to learn about the culture, the building, just to know a bit of history about the place and not just be in Paris taking pictures, wee pee, mommy, I'm in Paris, but like you don't even know the bridge that you are on, or about the statue that you are walking past, or the museum, the history behind the Mona Lisa. Okay, some people don't care about that, but I do, so that's why I made sure. And also I just wanted to familiarize myself with the city, because we will be there for 3 days. I wanted to just familiarize myself, and with the bicycle you actually get to see more, and she took us places that we probably wouldn't have gone to on ourselves, and it's just better to have a guide, you know. So I chose the 2:30 slot, and you see what I said about knowing the type of person you are. We had gone out the previous night from 8. The pub crawl ended at 1 a.m. that morning, but we proceeded to a different club, and we got home approaching the AMs. I think we got home like at 4 a.m. or something like that. So imagine having planned to do this bicycle ride at like 10 a.m. That was not going to work out, especially the fact that there was alcohol involved. So I intentionally made it at 2:30 because by then we would have recovered. And also, you must just know for yourself, don't go overboard there. Have fun, but just keep it to a minimum, because you do know you have things to do. You don't want to be riding bicycles but you're up a ballast. That is not cool. So we rode through the city, and this option, they only allow a minimum of 6 people on the trip, and it's for 2 hours. And once again, you have to wear comfortable shoes and have your water bottle, because you do get thirsty and dehydrated. And yeah, payment was done online, and this was $425 per person that I had to pay for. And we had a great time. This was, I think, the best activity for me. Okay, the final activity that we booked for was the boat cruise, Parents Romantic Cruise on the Capitaine Francasa. This was like the love boat. It was so beautiful, it was romantic, it was like a dream, it was what you see in the movies. The service was proper, it was top notch. We booked on the day because I was struggling to make a booking for it when we were here, and we had unfortunately forgot to download or to have the proof of payment with us, because we made a payment that same day and it was not reflecting on their side, so they wanted to see the proof. Although we had they did send us like the reference number and confirmation via email, but they needed that proof that we paid. So guys, take note, have your proof of payment. And yeah, but after 30 minutes it was sorted. We sat down, we paid 134 euros, which during that time was rounded off 2,200, but it was for the both of us there. So it was great, and it was a dream. It was an experience. I would do it again. They gave us a 3-course meal. It is a boat cruise along the Seine River. You get to see the Eiffel Tower light up at night. You get to see, you know, people just along the banks of the river. It was so weird. It was full, and I was there wondering like, Mom, do these people not have work? But maybe they were on holiday. We have different seasons also. They were sitting along the river, and there were just other boats on the river as well, small ones, big ones, people partying. Yeah, it was dope. So I would suggest that you book for yourself. Okay, I am going to give you guys now a few tips on, it's more like a checklist for yourself, and just making sure that you are well prepared for this trip. Tip number 1, we went to Europe, so have euros on hand. How can you go to a foreign place where they don't even use your currency and you don't have any of their local currency at hand? That is very strange, because how can you assume that where you are going there's even an ATM? You get into the airport, what if the ATMs at the airport aren't working and you need to go from point A to point B? How are you going to now make a payment? Cash is king, guys. And you will learn, and I'm sure many of you guys have encountered that when you go somewhere, you don't have cash, the swipe machine is not working, or the ATM is out of order, and now you are stuck. Always have cash. Go exchange for euros, go to the bureau. The change, we have quite a few here. There is Thomas Cook, there's Nova Cambios. Yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment, but there are quite a few of them. And you can also go to our commercial banks. They have a forex department and they will assist you. What you need to take with is your flight ticket, and you need to take your passport as well, because we don't use euros in Namibia. So where are you taking these euros? What are you using them for? No, I'm going to Germany. Okay, where's your proof that you are going? Because nobody's just going to give you euros like that. So they want to see the proof. You have your flight ticket. Okay, you are leaving Namibia, going there, and you're coming back on this date. And then they need your passport so that they can check your visa and if your visa is valid for you to go. That being now in my case the Schengen visa. So you have to do that part and keep your receipts as well, because when you come back and you want, maybe you have extra euros left and you want to change them now to Namibian dollars, they are going to ask you where did you get your euros from, and you can provide your passport. You provide your passport as proof that you went out the country to Germany and now you are back, and then the receipt as well of where you got that from. Oh, and just a tip, if somebody ever gives you like 10 euros, 10 US dollars, maybe your cousin went overseas and they came back and they have an extra 10 and they give it to you, you didn't go, so you can't provide a passport, you can't provide a receipt. 10 is a small number, so when you go there you tell them it was a gift, and then they'll give you this gift declaration form. It's a piece of paper that you just fill in your details and who you got it from and whatever, and you go with your ID as well, and they will assist you and give you your Namibian dollars. Tip number 2, go to your bank that you use and then you ask them to authorize an international use of your credit card. That will just enable you to be able to use your ATM card in the foreign country that you are going. You take your flight ticket with, and you take your passport as well as proof that you are going, and they will use that information to see how many days you are going for, and they're going to authorize. So if you are going for 10 days, they'll make it valid for 10 days. If you're going for 15 days, they'll make it valid for 15 days, and that will just enable you to use your credit card on the other side, right? Tip number 3. Tip number 3, this was a tip that my friend gave me, Alicia, and she said download a currency conversion app that is able to work offline. And I think that was a great tip, and I used it. Okay, but don't overuse it because it will drive you crazy if you are the whole time comparing Namibian dollars to euros, seeing how much you spend. But it was a wake-up call though. I learned my lesson. When we arrived there at the airport, we're sitting at Starbucks and we're waiting for the other couples to come. We ordered food. It was like we had coffee and like a Britchen type of thing. Britchen, cheesecake and coffee times 2. It was 19 euro. Times 2 coffee, a Britchen and a cheesecake, 19 euro. It sounds very little, right? Until I went on the conversion app and it was like 100 and something. I was like, hell no. It was a lot. I remember it was way too much, and from there I was like, okay, don't just jump into things there, like actually monitor and check what you are spending your money on and if it's worth it. But yeah, first mistake, so it was forgivable, nothing too serious, but don't be there converting, it will drive you mad. Tip number 4, and this was a very good, important, valid tip that I also got from Malaysia. She was like, friend, scan all you guys' documentations that you use for this trip, everything that you had to get for this trip, scan it and send and mail it to yourself and to 2 other reliable people. There's been copies of our IDs, copies of the passport, copies of the flight ticket, copies of the travel insurance, copies of the everything, all the documents which I needed for even the Schengen visa application and its approval, its receipt, our travel itinerary, accommodation. I scanned everything in one PDF document and I sent it, because you never know what can happen. Your bags could be stolen with all of your items in your phone, your passport, everything. You won't even know where to start. You won't even know how, like, where do you begin. But at least if you have a place where you have access to those documents, you can be assisted easily and better. So I mailed it to myself, I mailed it to my partner, and I mailed it to my mom and my sister. Mail to reliable people, mail it to your come-throughs, people who you know. If if you call them at any hour, they'll pick up and they'll make a plan to assist you. Doesn't matter what situation you're in, they'll try to help you from that side. Reliable sources and people that have access to Wi-Fi throughout the day. So that's what I did, and it's just be on the safe side, man. You never know what can happen. So yeah, I did that. Tip number 5 that I have for you guys is that you will have to research the weather during the time that you'll be away. Is it going to be summer? Is it autumn? Is it spring? Is it winter? And you also research the type of clothes that you need to pack. Boots, jackets, gloves, beanies will be required during winter. In summer it's crop tops, leggings, mini skirts, high-waisted shorties, doesn't matter. It will help you to avoid spending unnecessary money while you're on the other side, causing a dent in your pocket. In our case, the date was already set. We were going in September, so I just had to search for how the weather is like in September during that time. But if you are going to a place like Bora Bora, you have a dream like I did to go to Bora Bora, I will Google the best time to go. If they say it's in February, every year, between February and April, let's say, I'll make sure I save a year in advance so that I make sure I have enough funds when I go. And also I'll make sure that I reserve leave days for that time. Planning, people, it's very, very important and it is crucial. Tip number 6 that I'm going to give you is that you need to keep all of your receipts of the payments that you have made, whether it's for an activity, for accommodation, for your forex exchange. Just keep all of your receipts. You never know when they are going to ask for it. In my case, they did ask us for receipts for almost everything that we had, receipts and booking confirmation and reference number. I had the proof on email, I had it downloaded on PDF, and I had hard copy because I'm just that girl. So make sure you keep all of your receipts. Don't throw them away. You can throw them away after the trip. You just never know when somebody's going to ask you for that proof. So yes guys, in a nutshell, that was how I planned for this trip and how we budgeted for this trip. Let me say, it was very interesting. I learned a lot. It exposed me to a lot of things, how other countries, how people around the world are doing things, and how we need to do better, especially when it comes to the service delivery. So yes, those were my tips. I hope you guys use them. I hope they are useful for you. If you ever get stuck, feel free to hop into my DM on Itspero. That's my Instagram name, the same name as this channel. Hop into my DM and I will assist you where I can. If I'm not able to assist you, I will see if I can refer you to somebody who does know better. And hopefully these tips, they do come in handy, because planning a trip on your own, it can be really stressful. And I had a lot of help. I had a lot of assistance from my friends who are well traveled. And yeah, with the budget, like I said, it was difficult to say how much was needed, but top of the list, it was the flight tickets and then the accommodation, and then you have your activities. Those are the fixed expenses. The variable expenses, it was really hard to tell. Like in Germany, we didn't really spend much, but we did spend money on food because we were a group of people staying in one house, so we all contributed funds and we bought the food together for the days. And yeah, we bought food I think 2 or 3 times, whatever was needed. We were there for 4 days, so we kept going back to the shops. That's what we spend most of our money on. And in Paris we spend more, and transportation as well. In Germany, I think transport in Germany was more expensive than in Paris. We had to call taxis or Ubers, whatever, and yeah, we had to pay that as well. In Paris we used train for transport and we used Ubers. That was another expense. It's hard to keep track of how much money was spent on that. And food, there we ate out every day. All the meals we had, we ate out. We didn't cook because there was just no time to cook. We were always out and about, so we ate out, and money was just spent on things like souvenirs and just getting ourselves, you know, a little thing here, a little thing there. It's really hard to keep track of those expenses. So what I feel a comfortable amount that you should have if you want to go on a trip like the one that I went to, I would say have at least 25k. Budget at least 25k for yourself. Flight ticket, it will vary depending on which airline you are going to use and the time that you do book. So that is fine. Just find out an option which is suitable for you and accommodation. Do your research, and once you have that out the way, then you can play around with everything else. But yes, for tuning in, and I hope you stay tuned for the other video on how to apply for a Schengen visa, because it is coming up, and yeah, it can be a daunting task, and I'll tell you why in that video. But thank you very much, guys, and